Hey y'all, this is Mr. Pepin, and for our seventh week of online science, we are going to be comparing and contrasting inherited traits with learned behaviors. Last week, we explored physical and behavioral adaptations. This week, we're going to be going more in depth about inherited traits, which can be both physical and behavioral, and also look at learned behavior. Let's start by defining some key terms. An inherited trait is a physical characteristic or behavior that is present from birth in a living thing. These traits are passed from parent and family to children, also known as offspring. On the other hand, a learned behavior is something that a living thing learns to do over the course of their lifetime. It is not present from birth. Let's look at an example, namely you. Think about a physical trait that you have. Whether it is hair color or eye color, chances are that someone else in your family shares the same trait. Why? Because this trait was passed down to you, which makes it an inherited trait. For instance, Mr. Pepin has black hair because his mom has black hair. This trait has been passed down to him and has been present for Mr. Pepin since birth. Some animals, aside from inherited traits, are also born with inherited behaviors called instincts. These instincts are adaptations that these animals have developed over generations in order to survive. For example, animal behavior during the winter. Some animals, like bears, hibernate or go to sleep for long periods of time, while others, like Canadian geese, fly to a warmer area. No one teaches these animals to exhibit this behavior. Rather, they are born with this knowledge, i.e., it is instinct. Now, animals, including us humans, can also learn new behaviors during their lifetime. Us humans learn new behaviors almost, if not, every day. For instance, every day you go to school, you learn a new behavior. This can be in the form of your reading, writing, math, and science lessons for the day. Every time you practice a sport, you are learning a new behavior. Animals can learn new behaviors too. If you have a pet dog that can sit on command, it was not born knowing how to do that. You and your family had to teach it how to sit on command. In other words, this is a learned behavior for your dog. To sum it up, inherited traits are physical characteristics that are passed down from parent to offspring. These can include traits like hair color or eye color. Behavior is a way of acting, and a behavior can be inherited in the form of instincts, like how animals know how to migrate during the winter, or they can be learned, which means animals learn this behavior during their lifetime, like a dog learning how to sit on command. Let's put this knowledge to the test. The first part of your science assignment is going to be watching a video. The video is going to be of a dancing bird. Afterwards, you are going to answer these three questions on the right side about the bird dancing in the video. Do you think the dancing is a learned behavior? Did the bird learn how to do it during its life? Or an inherited trait? Was the bird born knowing how to dance? Question 2, why do you think that? And question 3, what characteristics does the bird have that are inherited traits? So maybe, I'm not saying this is the correct answer, maybe it wasn't born with the knowledge of how to dance. But what was it born with? question 3. Part 2 of your assignment is going to be a click and drag. On your screen, one side is going to be labeled with inherited traits. The other side is going to be labeled with learned behaviors. You are going to have different examples on the left and right side, such as children speaking 2 languages, plant leaf color, and a chimp using a stick to catch termites. You are going to have to click and drag these examples to the correct category. For instance, children speaking 2 languages. I don't know if we as humans are born knowing how to speak 2 languages. What type of behavior would that make it? This will continue on slide 9, as you will have different examples that you will also have to click and drag to the correct category. And finally, we get to part 3 of our assignment, which is where you get to speak about your inherited traits and your learned behaviors. There is a model for you. You will be given 2 slides. One slide will be for inherited traits. The other slide will be for learned behavior. You are going to insert 2 images of your inherited traits and your learned behavior, respectively. After you insert those pictures, on the right side, you are going to give justification for why these images represent either inherited traits or learned behaviors. For example, for one of Mr. Pepin's inherited traits, I talked about my height. I inherited the genes for how tall I am from my dad. Because my dad and his brothers are tall, I am also tall. I cannot simply learn to be taller or shorter. That makes it an inherited trait. For learned behavior, I gave the example of playing guitar. I learned how to play the guitar by practicing songs and notes. I was not born with the knowledge of how to play the guitar. Now, for your own diagrams, if you don't want to insert personal images, that is completely fine. Find images on the internet that represent your inherited trait or your learned behavior. Mr. Pepin did it too. For the learned behavior of playing basketball, I couldn't find a picture of me playing basketball, so I just inserted a basketball hoop. Completely fine. Part 1 of your science assignment. Watch the video and answer the 3 questions. Part 2. Click and drag the examples to the correct category. Part 3. Provide 2 examples each of your own inherited traits and your learned behavior. Make sure you give justification. Good luck, class. You can always reference the slides before if you need extra guidance to complete your assignment. After you're done, mark it as done and turn it in to Google Classroom. Good luck, class. I know you can do it.